back again. We're gonna finish the night off with our 2025 August issue of Kawaii Ola. Just a side note, if you guys like the beanie, run over to shopcoconutkingdom.com and y'all can pick this up plus a whole lot more. All right, let's get into it. So when I got this month's August issue of Kawaii Ola in the mail, Chief of War was the cover. Jason Momoa standing on the cliff. So there is an article in here about Chief of War. So I'm gonna run through it. It's a long article. I'm not gonna read the whole entire thing, and there's some side notes that I want to mention towards the ending. But let's get into it. Chief of War, guys. Now on Apple TV. A turning point for Native Hawaiian storytelling by Pua Nani. Years ago, Thomas was working at Kualoa Ranch when he read in the newspaper article that discussions were in the works about making a film about Kamehameha. He remembers thinking to himself, if Hollywood wants Hawaiian stories, I can do that. The spark that ignited within him that day set a new trajectory for his life. Raised in Washington State as the child of diaspora, Sibit returned to the continent and began writing scripts. He would write 12 scripts before selling his first one. Immersing himself in the world of movie making, he soon formed a relationship with another Hawaii raised in the diaspora, and an up-and-coming actor named Jason Momoa. And they began collaborating on projects, a partnership that has now spanned 15 years. Pitching the idea. Chief of War has been described as a passion project for Momoa and Sibit, but it's more than that. It is a huliau, turning point for Native Hawaiian storytelling. This is the first time that a story written by Hawaiians about Hawaiians has been financed and produced on such an epic scale. It is a moment that was decades in the making and that required years of hard work and building a togetherness within the industry. Quote, we had the script for a while, but we knew it had to be big. It took me 20 years to get to where I had to be in my career in order to pitch something like this, Momoa reflected. Momoa and Sibit pitched Chief of War to Apple while Momoa was in Budapest filming Dune 2021. Momoa made a call to Zach, the chief content officer for Apple TV Plus. Quote, it was perfect timing because I had finished filming season 3 of C from 2019 to 2022 and I worked with Apple since 2018. We were on the call for probably over an hour. We had the script, the plot, the whole layout of the season. It was the first time I've ever just had a yes. It was greenlit the moment I pitched it to him. He was so excited, and I don't think that would have happened if I hadn't done 30 episodes of C, said Momoa. There's a good relationship there. Centering the story on Kaiana. It would be reasonable to assume that the lead character in the story about the unification of the Hawaiian kingdom would be Kamehameha. After all, he was known as Kana'aiopuni, conqueror of the nation. And for a moment, Momoa and Sibit did seriously consider telling a Kamehameha story. I'll be completely honest, quote, as a Kanaka, I was worried about the response to that. I kept thinking about how to approach it. Like, what perspective do you take? This is so much nuance. There is so much nuance to his story, and everybody has a connection to it in one way or another, Sibit said, noting that in some circles, Kamehameha is almost deified. Sensitive to that, along with the understanding that there are Ohana who based on their lineage might see Kamehameha as more of a villain than a hero, Sibit said. Quote, we ultimately came to the decision that we shouldn't tell that story at all, even though it's commercially viable, unquote. The day after they made that decision, it dawned on Sibit that the story of unification could be told through another, lesser-known character. Quote, it's an interesting dynamic. The world probably knows more about Kamehameha than any other Hawaiian, but during his lifetime, the only Hawaiian name spoken outside of Hawaii was Kaiana. Kaiana was a high chief of Kauai who left Hawaii in 1787 aboard the vessel Nootka as the guest of Captain John Mears. It is likely that he was the first Ali'i to travel abroad on a western ship. Although he was not the first Hawaiian, the distinction went to a woman whose name is recorded as Winnie. She left Hawaii about 3 months before Kaiana on another ship, the Emperor Eagle, as a personal servant of the captain's wife. Kaiana traveled around the Pacific Rim visiting China, the Philippines, and the northwest coast of America. When he returned to Hawaii, He was fluent in English and had amassed a large collection of Western weapons. As assets, Kamehameha was quick to leverage. Kaiana and his two brothers joined Kamehameha's army and helped the future king secure the islands of Hawaii and Maui. Sibit said that focusing on the story of Kaiana instead of Kamehameha made it really interesting. He was a character who had traveled the world. It fit perfect, not just for storytelling. It worked great for Jason too because he is also very worldly. He is a Kanaka, but he's traveled. While researching the story, Momoa discovered that he is a descendant of Kaiana. That was something we came upon, so it was wonderful that it just kind of fell into place. Sibit added. From a storytelling perspective, focusing on a lesser-known character gave Momoa and Sibit more flexibility. Quote, the best way to tell this story is with a character that you can dirty up a little bit. A character that you can run through the mud, expose his flaws, vilify, and redeem. We can do anything with a character like that and still tell the story of unification. Unquote. Casting Kamehameha. One of the many interesting stories about the creation of Chief of War is how Kaina Makua, a Kauai kalo farmer, cultural practitioner, and community educator, was cast to play the role of Kamehameha. It was a chance meeting 2 years ago at a canoe regatta. Quote, the moment I laid eyes on him, I was like, that's Kamehameha, Momoa recalled. It was a thunderbolt to the brain, to my soul. I ran up to him. I needed to know who he was and talk to him. It was destiny. He walks the talk. He's brought all the integrity. He's a true Kanaka, unquote. In Chief of War, Kamehameha is portrayed as a man coming to terms with his job and reluctantly accepting the burdens of leadership. Quote, we know Kamehameha was trained as a warrior, and we know that because the sole mo'i of Hawaii Island, and we know that he became the sole mo'i of Hawaii Island. I wanted to focus on that period in between, Sibit said. There was another aspect to Kamehameha. We know that after the unification, he turned people to agriculture. He loved farming. It's the human side of his story that we don't talk about. This is Kamehameha portrayed in the Pacific context at a specific time. Researching history and culture. Sibit's bookshelves at home are lined with titles like Brooding Chiefs of Hawaii by historian Samuel Kamakau and Kamehameha and his warrior Keku Haupi'o by Reverend Stephen Disha. He grew up in a family that sang songs, told stories despite living outside of Hawaii. Hawaiian culture and history was always just alive in us. It's just part of who I am. Over the 10 years that Momoa and Sibit worked on the storyline for Chief of War, they read everything they could get their hands on, including translations of 19th century Hawaiian newspapers. Alright, so I'm going to leave you guys with some highlighted passages. Quote, what identifies us as the same Lahui, or collective? It's not the color of our skin anymore because we all look quite different. But if we Olelo Hawaii speak Hawaiian, if we practice Hawaiian practices, if we know our Mo'olelo stories and tell our Mo'olelo, if we know our culture and practice our culture, those are the things that we can identify each other by. This project brings all of that together because of our political situation. If you don't know, Google Hawaiian occupation. It's difficult to envision a Hawaiian future because we have no idea what our past looked like. But if we can imagine what Hawaiian society was like then, we can imagine what Hawaiian society should be moving forward. This isn't something that just brings the past back to life, Kanoa added. This is something that brings life to our present and to our future. Quote, you're going to have to make creative choices, Momoa said. We're working for a massive company trying to sell the story and get this out. We can kick down the door. The next generation can make it even better. I don't think as creatives, as storytellers, we made decisions that maybe aren't universally acceptable in the Hawaiian community, and that's okay. The fact that we can even have the conversation is amazing, as is the fact that we are in a place to discuss history on such a platform, said Sibit. Pa'a and Jason are inspiring us. They're empowering us. We have lots of stories, and there's enough work for everybody. All kinds of different work. But it's Jason's platform that he's opening to other people. I've been doing my thing performing in classrooms and theaters, but when I auditioned for this and was cast, it was a moment for me. It was something I had hoped would happen in my career. and it happened. Said Goods. The Hawaiians who are already in the room opened the door and invited more Hawaiians into the room on every level as actors and crew and cultural consultants. Well, you guys, mahalo Jason Momo, Mr. Sibit for bringing Chief of War to the world. I hope there's only more to come. So Hawaiians out there, keep chasing your dreams. Aloha.